We are going to talk about how to audit a conversion sequence. Basically, the steps, we're going to isolate, cut out the steps to understand if your campaigns are doing as good as you want them to, or what you need to do on the back end to get the job done. So most of the times we find that most of our clients are getting enough leads, they're getting enough follow-up, or not follow-up, they're getting enough clicks to their site, for example. They're getting enough opt-ins, questions, calls, but then their conversion rates drop off significantly. And if you're an agency owner, that is a big problem for you, because you can't go directly to your clients all the time and give them, the data to say, hey, you suck at closing. Meanwhile, if you're a business owner, you don't really know the numbers on what's coming in, what's good or not, on whether or not you and your team are performing to the level that you need to, or you could say the leads are bad, for example, but across the board you could have conversion rates that are 20-30% lower than everyone else. So there's that old quote, ignorance is bliss. I think that ignorance is a death wish, and that you should know exactly what the data is that's keeping your account clean. Okay, so the first way to understand this is to understand how we're breaking it down. The first thing that we're looking at is leads. And if your lead volume is not high enough, you need to watch our other video on how to improve ad performance. We have an ad performance video that you should check out that goes through like fixing everything you need to do for your ads. The second is an ad math, because the ad math training or campaign training also includes how to set up your math machine, your mousetrap, really, to understand if your ads are going to be good for you or not. Okay, so that's the first thing on the leads. Then you can go into the nurture sequence for booking rate, call show rate, check-in rate, care plan, LTV. And so in our lead care app, and we like white label another service here, we have it set up that way where a new lead comes in, and if they don't book within 8 minutes, meaning once they opted in, the thank you page took them to the calendar, they get moved to call not booked. Okay, that's stage one, is call not booked. That just means that when they opted in, they didn't book instantly, and then they're going to get sent to our nurture sequences. We keep that as one category, and we're looking to turn that into consultation call booked, our booking rate. Okay, and so if we have 100 leads, 150 leads ish, we would expect to see somewhere between 30 to 50 calls, bookings, okay, which is around 30% on the low end, 20 to 30% on the low end, and then for other clients we've seen like 50%, all the way up to 50%. Okay, and the first thing that we're looking at in these different metrics, so this is like common what we see when clients will get leads at less than $10, for example, in their first days of their campaign, they have 100 leads. Some clients have even had up to 150 in the first 10 days of their campaign. And so we have, say 30 to 50 book calls. Well, that's a pretty wide spread, 20 to 30%. What do you mean, Tristan? What are the variables that go into that? And the first thing that is affected on the booking rate, which is the thing that we're evaluating right now, is availability. That is why everything we do pushes towards a phone call, because we are looking for the lowest friction possible for people to be able to get in touch with the business, to get on the phone with them, to be sold into the next step. So availability, if availability is small, and we do 15-minute gaps, all office hours, if it's lower than that, then we see the lower opt-in rate. If it's just as high, like if we have those availability and we're still at 20%, then we go into our sequences and we add a little bit more volume on the sequences, or we make them more specific to pains and problems and the offer that we're trying to solve. That's kind of more dependent on the offer. But most of the time, it's just an availability issue. Clients will ask us to be able to tweak their availability to make it smaller in an effort to slow down the campaign, or to keep them, from being double booked. And that's like the last thing we want to do, because most offices have a front desk. So they have someone who can make the call. They have the doc themselves. They have CAs. They have different people. So we don't really ever want to do that, because it's just a phone call. Okay, so our first thing is our booking rate. Then we look at our show rate, our call show and no show rate. And that is all a follow-up sequence as well. Call show, no show rate. Okay, call show rate. So we have these 30 to 50 calls. And I'll take my little lead here through the pipeline here in a moment. But we have these 30 to 50 calls. We usually see about 70% of the people show up for the calls because they're just a phone call. Okay, it's just a phone call. About 10% of those people might need to reschedule, but the other, set of people usually don't. Some people are disqualified. Some people disqualify themselves. Some people are no longer looking for the service if they had to book too far out. And that's what we're going to write down here. So to increase show rate, the first thing we're looking at is how far out did they book? We want it to be within 48 hours. Because the commitment is right there. The pain that they have is right there, especially if they're going to a chiropractic office or in their business. A lot can happen in 48 hours to someone's life. So we want that to happen. So how far out are they booking? Because we want to shorten that if possible, if our show rate isn't what we want it to be. Okay. Then we look at follow-up sequence to the call of what they're going to cover in the call. But it's almost always how far out they're booking, just like availability. The sequences are pretty solid and they're very simple. We've done those thousands and thousands of times. So it's really more about the availability, again, on how quickly we're getting them booked. So we're always trying to book for tomorrow. We're always trying to, book for later today. Because not because we're being pushy, but because we want the commitment to the phone call to stick. Because making a commitment for anybody is hard. Okay, so that's the show rate. So we had our booking rate. And now we've got our show. The third metric goes into check-in/care plan. Okay, check-in, care plan. And again, I'll walk through this pipeline here in a moment. We'll put some leads in. I think you can actually see it in the dashboard. Yeah, I'll pull up what a real dashboard can look like here in a moment. And so check-in/care plan is an office visit/sale. Okay, so here they are paying that first visit fee, which is usually a one-time offer, OTO. It's a first visit fee, an exam or evaluation. For us in the digital space, it is a wait list. It's the first sale, right? And then the office visit, they're not only paying that down payment, so you're collecting money, hopefully the ad spend back, to be able to look at the nurture sequence, but they're also on a wait list or going towards a care plan, okay? And this is all 100% on the doc, but we usually see about 90% show rates here because we recommend on this phone call that we collect their credit card information to reserve their spot. And if we get any resistance there, we say it's just the way that we've always done it. And most people take that answer just fine. Like the objection of, I have to have a credit card to hold my appointment is actually associated with affluent appointments because they're so busy they're not going to deal with you not showing up on time, right? So our show rates here are about 90% to actually get to the office, and then after that, it falls off. Most people will graciously say that they are an 80% closer. And we actually have had offices in the 80s and 90s just crushing it, just every single person they come in. But we actually find that that's not true. It's usually more like 40, 50. And the reason is if you don't pre-qual hard enough in the call show rate, or if the offer isn't specific enough in the ads to get better qualified leads. It's usually not the actual ads themselves, and it's usually not the actual offer itself. It's how it's being stated that is important in the ads, how it's being stated on the phone that lead to that phone call. Okay, so if we were to hop into my computer, we have this exact same thing. When leads come in, every client has their pipeline. Okay, so Tristan Test 5 is a new lead. He didn't book. Within 8 minutes, he's in the call not booked sequence. Then all of a sudden, Tristan does book. Okay, he's good to go. And I'm just clicking and dragging. He's booked. He's waiting on his appointment. His appointment's over here. Bam. Tristan no-shows, but he got back on the calendar. Okay, cool. He's going through. Now he showed on the phone what happened. Did we get him committed to an appointment? Did we get him scheduled, right? We want to click in there. We want to add that to the notes. Scheduled in-office visit. We've got these notes for Tristan. And then Tristan comes into his in-office visit. Well, that means he paid the first down payment. So we can click Tristan Test 5 here. We click his opportunity, and we can say, well, he paid that first visit of $500. Or, to be more realistic for an office, he paid that first visit of $250, which is going to update in the pipeline. Fantastic. Well, then what happened to Tristan? Well, Tristan became a client. And when Tristan became a client, we're going to take his care plan case value, essentially LTV, whatever he's contracted for, the amount that he's contracted for, and we're going to add that in. So let's say it's $2,000. We'd have $2,250 here. And so this fills the pipeline. You can see the numbers here will start to change. This will be updated here momentarily. But we also have the statuses of open, lost, abandoned, won, right? So if I were to click on another one of these random ones, I have lost, abandoned, won. And so if someone does not book a call within 6 weeks, like their reactivation campaign, they get put into abandoned. Okay, if someone continues, if they booked, but then they continue to no-show, or they showed and they do not become a client, they get put into lost. Okay, if they checked in though, or if they come into the office, once they get pulled over to check in, they get moved to 1, and this would get 250. And this care plan here gets dragged to 1. And I'll show you why here in a moment. So now we have abandoned, lost, won, etc. If I go to my dashboard here, you will see now I have my conversion rate populating. I know what's open. I know what's closed. Open is sale that has not been marked as 1 yet. So we still have these refreshing. They're marked as 1 now. They should work. And then we have lost leads, which abandoned will also put lost in as well. And we can break down this pipeline however we want. So if we look at the pipeline, we can actually see which stage people get stopped at, right? We can see their values. We can see their distribution of their stages. And so to to audit a nurture sequence, you really just have to understand first and foremost what's going to increase your performance. So better ads, of course, and then we have a training on that. Then better availability, usually for the show rate for the call, and then correlating that to the offer their problem solutions to be able to lead the check-ins and then to come into this system and be able to drag a pipeline through the system will make it way easier, far easier to have all your data, because you'll know exactly what people have and haven't received. That's why this didn't get marked as 2,250. And so when you're able to mark all of your information in here, you don't have to go run a fancy report or do sheets. Even when they get dragged, we will add tags to them. There's automations that handle all of those processes. So our clients just have to manage their sales pipeline, and then we know exactly what the deal is. So I hope this training made it simple on how to audit a nurture sequence, a conversion sequence, to see if it's working for you. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, let us know. Thanks.